Oh, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. So, we're going to be watching the live stream of Candace Owens. Let's see what crazy woman has to say. Shall be interesting. But, so just to kind of give a little quick background of what's going on, her and Erika obviously met yesterday. And Candace says Erika and I had an extremely productive 4.5 hour meeting that I think we both feel should have taken place a lot earlier than it did. We agree much more than I had anticipated. Of course, we also disagree on various points and people as well, which she's gonna be freaking crazy. Let's see. Most importantly, we were able to share intel and clarify intent. I will of course have a full rundown for you all tomorrow, which is today, as I am currently exhausted. But I wanted to quickly let you guys know that absolutely nothing was held back, and the immediate result was that tensions were thawed. Oh shit. Sorry, I think I'm getting a cold. Erika said, I had a very productive conversation with Candace Owens. More to come from both of us. Looking forward to Amfest this week. Time to get back to work. Now, I'm just gonna make a quick little prediction. I think that she came out and showed Candace a big folder of here's all the evidence that pretty much the prosecution has. You are now slapped with a gag order, so you can't talk about this stuff, and you can shut the fuck up. Um, but personally, I think that Candace is going to come out saying that she now does believe that it's Tyler Robinson, and let's see her turn it into, where's Lance Twiggs? Where's Lance Twiggs? Who's more than likely in protective custody, because I have a feeling he's probably going to be their main witness, and no one seems to know where he is, and his parents aren't crazy, like they're not freaking out, so you kind of have to wonder. But yeah, so here's what Candace said.
4.5 hours later, I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm totally fine, and I'm sorry. I was going to do a show for you guys this evening, but I am truly exhausted. Very productive conversation. I asked every single question. I mean, from Egyptian planes to Turning Point USA Faith, and I was very surprised by some of the answers that I got, and I think they were also very surprised when I shared certain intel. This probably should have happened a very long time ago, but I wanted to let you guys know that I am alive, and I will have the full rundown for you guys tomorrow of what transpired. And yeah, I think it was definitely a very big step in the right direction. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. 4.5 hours later, I'm alive.
I know all you guys want to know what happened during my meeting with Erika, so here it goes. We met in Nashville because I didn't want to fly anywhere and have my plane shut down by Israel, so I told her to come here instead. She gets here, and first thing she does is she gives me some homemade cookies. And I'm like, bitch, I ain't eating those poisoned chocolate chip cookies. She tried to poison me. Anyway, I'm still alive after almost dying from the poisoned Israeli cookies, and we start talking. Then you're not going to believe what happened next. The waiter asks us if we want something to drink, but he's wearing the Star of David. So I'm like, I ain't about to drink no poisons lemonade from you, you Mossad agent. So anyway, I almost die again from Israeli lemonade poisoning. And Erika is like, I'll just have some water, please, which is obviously code for, you better kill this bitch right now. Am I right? So we talk, and she tells me I'm acting crazy or whatever. So I asked her to show me pictures of her of when she was younger. And she's like, why? So I'm like, oh my God, she doesn't have any. So I just discovered she's actually a man, and I'm now talking to this man who is probably an Israeli spy sent here to kill me. So I get up, I go to the bathroom, I dig a hole under the shitter like El Chapo, and I finally made it back to tell you guys the story and get paid millions by YouTube to keep you guys stupid and against Trump and Turning Point, because I'm just a piece of shit like that. Anyway, thank you for your views, retards.
I don't know who came up with that, but that was brilliant. Obviously, that's AI, but that's still damn brilliant. And honestly, like, that's pretty much her shows. That's actually her shows. It's that crazy sometimes. But what we are waiting on is in about 3 minutes, she's supposed to do her live stream. So we're going to watch that. We're going to see how crazy she gets, and we're going to comment. And yeah, this should be interesting. So we got about 3 minutes to kill. It says upcoming, starts at 5:30. But look, there's already 3,000 people in there. There's a whole bunch of people in here just talking shit. I think a bunch of people are just ready to watch her crash out. This should be fun. Yep. Starting soon. Yay! Yay!
Okay, everybody, Shabbat Shalom.
There she goes.
Shabbat Shalom to everybody
There
back
she
at
goes.
home. Happy Hanukkah to our greatest friends and allies. And, you know, this is a good time to mention that Israel does have a right to defend itself. Tucker Carlson is Adolf Hitler. And TikTok does to be purchased by the Mossad. It's just how I'm feeling today. I am not different. Maybe you are different. Welcome back to Candace.
Oh, God. She's going to go crazy. Oh, this is going to get good. Oh. Okay. This is going to be good.
Okay, you guys are crazy. You guys are absolutely crazy. The amount of people who attacked me for sending out a tweet being like, hey, I'm good, I'm alive. We had a very productive conversation. And they were like, she got the call. She got the call. She's betrayed us. She's doing something else. I can't believe it. This has all just been a show. Calm down, okay? What do you think happened? Erika said, stop. And then I was frozen.
That Erika showed you
4.5,
evidence and then slapped you with a gag order and threatened to
30
sue
minutes,
you as well. And you can't afford to get sued anymore.
I just put all of these talking points into my head. That is not what happened. I keep telling you guys, I am not governable. I am basically akin to Kanye West. I never felt more seen than when he tweeted a lot of years ago, just fired my manager because I realized I can't be managed. That is me. That tweet right there, I was like, oh gosh, yes, Kanye, that I get this. Okay. Nobody is changing their mind anything. How ridiculous would it have been if I'm doing all of this, investigating, asking all of these questions, and then Erika Kirk offers to answer some of these questions, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go. I can't betray the people. I don't want any answers to the questions.
Exactly
I just want to ask them. No, this is the entire reason we are doing this. We've been looking at the situation going, why can't Turning Point USA just answer basic questions? And I can tell you guys that yesterday for 4 hours and 30 minutes, there were no rules. They said you can ask us any question that you want, anything that's on your mind, which I appreciated. And some of you guys are thinking, who is they? Who is they? It's the Jews, obviously. Just kidding. It's Justin Strife. Justin Strife was in the room. It was just Justin Strife and Erika. George joined me just for the beginning portion of the conversation because he had that thing going on that I told you on the 15th all day. He was in a conference. And then I brought my cousin Mia, you know, the one that has a really bad attitude. I just bring her there for vibes. I think it just confuses people. They're like, I don't understand what's this person doing here. And the reality is she's like always just listening to Cardi B music.
Yeah,
but she's my cousin and I always have her around. And so that was it. She was kind of sitting a little bit away, but at the table it was really just the four of us until George left. And I will be honest, I did not know what to expect going into the room. I did not know if they were going to be open. I didn't know what Erika's energy was going to be like, if it was going to be more of an argument, if there was going to be legal threats. You guys were telling me not to drink water, so I didn't drink water. Well, I brought my own water, but I didn't drink that water too. It was a lot. There's a lot going on, okay? And the conversation started with Justin Strife.
Yeah, really quick. She actually slapped Erika with a defamation lawsuit Friday, so she can suck a dick. She's lying.
very sensibly saying, what are we looking to accomplish here? Like, what is the actual aim of this conversation? And he was pretty clear, and Erika was very clear, that they were sort of most upset with what obviously a bit of a fever pitch, what I tweeted, that it was a God-forsaken company and people should not give money to it. And I have to own that. That's aggressive. That is actually aggressive in the retrospect. I was very frustrated. And I don't know. I felt like we weren't getting any answers and there were so many lies. And then I was getting attacked for asking all meaningful questions that was within their capacity
there you
to
go.
answer.
She's rolling it back.
And I told you, I definitely, my problem in life is that I can rise to anger very quickly. I shared with them that I really felt like I was under attack for telling the truth from the very beginning, like casually, when I mentioned the Catholicism thing. Like, what was that about? I was like, look, I say something in a tribute to him. Alex Clark and Andrew Colvett then jump onto a podcast and they're doing that weird interview, which is clearly aimed at me. And they've teased the interview as like aimed at me, but they never say my name. And that to me felt like it was the first, I don't know, the first bit of mud that was slung, which their answer for that was, hey, that was a really crazy time. A new system had to be put into place. And by no means did Erika give any person the authority to go out and say that the Catholicism thing was a lie. It kind of turned into this big thing. Whatever. Okay, that kind of obviously was not the meat of the reason that
but Charlie Kirk himself said, I'm not Catholic.
I will say I was immediately refreshed by the fact that one of the first things that Erika did was she owned the lies, or rather, I guess they would cage it as miscommunications that were coming from various people at the company. Like, look, this is a company with 650 people that are employed. Everybody at this time is exceedingly emotional and they are communicating. And no matter what somebody says on Twitter, they assume that this communication has come down from management, and that's not always a circumstance. But they owned right away, which felt great, that if you guys recall, Erika sat down with Glenn Beck. I actually missed this portion because I didn't get to watch the interview in its entirety, and we were pulling clips because a lot was coming out very quickly.
On it.
But there was a portion that was going around that was viral, and it was Erika saying that she had Charlie's phone and that Charlie never texted anybody the night before saying that he thought that they were going to kill him. And that obviously reflected poorly on me because I was the one who said that he did, in fact, text multiple people the night before. And
so
then
you're
I went
a liar.
on Jimmy Dore on Friday, Jimmy Dore's show, and I clarified. I said, Andrew Colvett told me specifically
I'm
that
a
he
liar.
was one of the people that received this text message. So I got that first person. I didn't get that from a source. I got that directly from Andrew Colvett. And then somebody who had access to Dan Flood's communications said that Dan Flood similarly received a text message. They owned that right away and explained. Erika said that she has Charlie's phone. She's looking at his iMessages. And it turns out that he, like everybody else, communicates on Signal. He communicates on Telegram. And that when she heard me say that, they then went and looked. And yes, that what I said was true. Andrew Colvett received a message the night before, and Dan Flood received a message the night before. Now, they asked me if I had actually like a concrete a copy of what Dan Flood got the night before. And I said, no. If somebody told me what it said, which was almost exactly what Andrew said, which is they're going to kill me. Andrew did not know who they were, that he was referring to were, but they clarified that the message that Dan Flood received said the left is going to kill me. So I can't confirm that one way or the other. I have to trust them on that because I did not see that concrete message. I was told that it said
so
they.
Hard.
Now, obviously, we discussed the moment, and I'm laughing here because you TikTokers are actually out of control. You guys are going to be the reason that Israel gets TikTok because you guys are acting a fool all the time. And the videos were so hilarious of you guys mocking the Barry Weiss interview. It's great. It's good to laugh at ourselves. And Barry Weiss is always worth laughing at. But I was sort of like, hey, I felt name checked by the podcaster, Candace Owens, this obvious setup, and then asking me to stop. And it's interesting to hear
ass. You
Erika
literally
say
opened up a lawsuit
that the
for
reason she didn't
defamation
ask
on
me to stop
Friday against Erika
in the
and
beginning
TV
because
USA.
she was actually learning things from the show. She was actually learning things, and that I think she similarly felt that Barry Weiss was trying to create a moment, obviously.
If Erika Kirk was learning things from the show, then why did she tell you to stop on 3 different shows? She told you to stop 3 times, and you didn't. And you're still not stopping. You're rolling it back because everyone knows you're a fucking liar, but you're not stopping.
It's who Barry Weiss is. It's the Zionist lobby. She's trying to right perceived wrongs because I'm against her side. That does not surprise me. That's kind of why Barry Weiss exists. That's the reason they put her at CBS, is because she's just committed to stacking the audience with people that are going to present the pro-Israel cause and talk about anti-Semitism and talk about like crime being on the rise. It's kind of an embarrassment, but I actually do accept that. And I should also clarify that Barry Weiss obviously picked those questions. They were not random, like I told you. It wasn't like people were coming to the mic and it was an open mic and they didn't know what they were going to get. It was all very much planned by Barry. But Erika said that she knew the general idea, like they were going to mention me and mention the conspiracies, but she was not given that specific, the podcaster, Candace Owens, question. So I think that's fair to clear that up. Now, I did not at all recant any of my suspicions, and I understand people disagree with me about particular people at Turning Point USA. I communicated what I communicated in front of the whole world. My skin crawled after I spoke to Terrell Farnsworth, the person who took the cameras down. He lied to me several times. I explained to them, which felt good to have that direct communication, how Terrell lied multiple times, and that I did not understand why he was there that day. They echoed what he said. They defended what he said, that they were trying something new that day, that they typically live stream, which is what Terrell said. They typically live stream, and I said every college event. Well, they said, well, yeah, they live stream the events that are tour stops, but they don't live stream like the outside prove me wrong type events. And that was something that was new, and it required Terrell. And I said, even if that was all real, if that was all true, I still didn't feel good about the conversation that I had with Terrell, and I can't ignore my gut about the many little lies that he told. I thought the video he recorded was weird. I know he comes from a very powerful family. I personally do not trust him. And I obviously do not like the fact that I said, Tyler Boyer lied about this thing and came up with an excuse and said, well, Terrell was asked to take the camera down. That's the reason, he said on Twitter, because the police wanted him to take it down and secure the footage. And I said, I know that's not true. And they said, well, after all of that, after he took the cameras down, there was a police officer or Fed, whoever it was, that spoke to him and asked him to secure the footage. Well, that makes sense, but it's not a reason for why he took it down immediately. It makes sense that as you're investigating, you're going to say, who's got the footage? Let's lock it down. But it didn't make sense to me that Tyler Boyer lied about it. And I don't trust Tyler Boyer. And that is never going to change. Similarly with Rob McCoy. He makes my skin crawl. I can't explain it. I look at him and he's a bad person and nobody can make me feel one way or the other about that. I was surprised to learn, and this kind of gets into, I guess, us not knowing the inner workings at Turning Point USA, that Rob McCoy actually does not work with Turning Point USA in any capacity whatsoever. And so him communicating as he has done, like, I'm the pastor, I'm this, I'm that, it's just not real. Like, that is not real. And we should know that that's not real. And when he says that, call him out on that separately from Turning Point USA. I was operating under the assumption that he worked for Turning Point USA. And I said, if obviously that's wrong, I'm happy to correct that. But also, what were we to assume when he hit the stage at the memorial and said, I'm America's pastor, and then had the Wikipedia updated and said, well, I'm assuming he had it updated because who else would do that, that he started Turning Point USA Faith. So I guess, to be clear, we were just wrong about that. And I will have a lot more to say about Rob McCoy and where I believe he fits into a lot of things. So I'm not letting up on that. Now, one piece of this where I still don't understand it, and the magic bullet. Okay. Now, we all recall what happened. I casually say on the show, hey, I saw the footage. There was no blood. And honestly, when I said it, I didn't process how big of a deal that was with the 30-06.
I saw the footage. I saw it from multiple different angles. There was blood. And actually, as a photographer, I can tell you right now, all video is either shot between 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. You're not going to catch a bullet. Like, you have to be at 1/1000th of a second to catch a bullet just like to catch the wings of a hummingbird. You're not going to catch a bullet at 30 frames per second. And you know what? I have a degree in this, so I actually know.
Very quickly, what happens is Andrew Colvett whips up this tweet about what happened with the bullet, and he said he wanted to address all of the discussion that was being had about the online chatter. I'm obviously paraphrasing here. He says, I apologize, it's going to get graphic, but he spoke with the surgeon. The bullet should have gone through. The surgeon then explained that what he's typically seen on these wounds, and basically this was all a miracle. Charlie saved lives, even in death. And the internet clocked it, this miracle, the healthy bone. His bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive. Like, this is a quote, by the way. His bone was so healthy. I want to read it. This is allegedly from a surgeon. Quote, his bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive that he's like the man of steel. It should have gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too. And we were just like, that kind of was like the beginning of the WTF, right? I feel like that was kind of the beginning of it.
All right, hold up really quick. So, I actually broke up 2 German Shepherds one day. And, I didn't get bit, but as you can see on my arm here, I got tore up pretty good, but there's no bite down. This actually, I gotta move the mic. You can see it. And actually, you know what? I'll just make the screen bigger. You can see. So what happened on that was I broke up 2 German Shepherds that were fighting. And it tore down almost all the way to the bone. I had to get 8 stitches, but they had to keep it somewhat open in order to let it drain because it was a animal wound. But I didn't bleed. And in fact, I actually missed the artery by like a millimeter. So when it comes down to it, she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. You can have moments like that. Just because there's an artery there doesn't mean it hits it. Just because, like, I mean, you can have dense bones, and they never even sit there and mention, like, muscle fibers. You can have dense muscle fibers, too. Men tend to have denser muscle fibers than women. But, yeah. No, I had my arm fully ripped open by a German Shepherd. Didn't bleed out. Nothing. Like, I had a towel over it, and the towel barely had any blood. But, yeah. I mean, it did hurt, I will say. But, no. Like, there are plenty of cases like that. Not everything's cut and dry when it comes down to wounds. I mean, my dad was up in a tree with a chainsaw. The chainsaw slipped. It went against his arm 3 times. He took his shirt off, tied a tourniquet, climbed down, and called 911. You figure a chainsaw would just cut his arm straight off, but he 3 times in his arm. Didn't cut it off. Went down to the bone. Didn't cut it off.
And immediately people in the comments responded to Andrew, and he said, this individual said, this post is so fake as it would violate HIPAA. Like, there's patient privacy. You can't just call up the surgeon. And then Andrew Colvett replies and says, rest assured, I would not have posted without full permission. Now, he said he spoke to the surgeon, and they confirmed that Andrew spoke to the surgeon, but that they did not know that he was going to write that tweet. They did not know that he called up the...
I think the violation of HIPAA would only come into play if they're still alive, but I don't know for sure.
Surgeon. So, like, it very much came across to be like Andrew was just flying by the seat of his pants. I don't know. Like, he was just flying dark on them. And I was like, that seems very strange to me, because why would a surgeon do that? Like, the first thing the surgeon should say is, I can't speak to you. I don't even know, in theory, Andrew wasn't even there when Charlie died. I don't even know why the surgeon even knows this guy, actually. Maybe he hung around after, but, you know, Andrew was not one of the people that got into the hospital or anything like that. So this is quite literally the PR guy who's calling the surgeon. And so that just seems very inappropriate for a person to do, period. And I would say it was kind of the beginning, but that was what I got from that. Now, obviously, we discussed the security. I brought up Brian Harpole this interview with Sean Ryan. And I think we can believe Turning Point when they say that they did not approve of this. They had no idea he was going on Sean Ryan. I think that's pretty clear. I don't believe he works there anymore. So that was kind of him just getting out there and perhaps trying to rescue his own reputation. And I think that only made his reputation worse, actually, because people rightfully sensed that he wasn't telling the truth in that interview, that he was being cagey, that he was saying things that didn't make any sense. Again, you constantly have these people that believe, like Brian Harple, that with enough performance, he can sit down and you're just going to convince people that this is real. And this is just a different time. Like I said, these TikTokers are out of control. They will check you in 4 seconds. Okay. Things that the biggest piece of this that I want to communicate, and that I did communicate to them, and I hope that they took me seriously on this, or that, rather that they take my strong advice on this. I said one of the reasons why I really want to sit down is because I want to walk out of here and feel confident saying to my audience, hey, like, there's stuff going on behind the scenes, but Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. Like, that more will come out, but you can take it from me that this is what happened. I was looking to achieve that because there's been a lot of signaling from various people, some people who are experts, some people who have been involved in cases, that there's obviously going to be stuff that the public does not have access to.
No shit,
so
Sherlock.
It is at least plausible that they have seen very clear footage that we've been asking for of Tyler Robinson getting up there and taking the shot. Like, they have access to UVU cameras. So I was hoping to hear that. And I said that I want to hear why people feel so confident at Turning Point USA that Tyler Robinson is the guy. And at this point, they elected to call the lawyer, like, you know, their lawyer who is involved in this case, one of the lawyers that's involved in this case. There's always a team of lawyers, especially for something like this. And what I got from the lawyer did not make me feel that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. It did not make me feel confident that he didn't or did shoot Charlie Kirk. I was very surprised by this. He spoke a very long time. I asked, you know, can you share with me what it is? And I said, when you share this with me, I will not say what that thing is. If that's what if we want to protect the integrity of the case, I'm not gonna. If you say we've got the footage of him taking a shot, I promise I won't say that to the audience, but I will communicate to them that you have something that is solid.
Oh, I guarantee they got Lance Twigs.
To the exact contrary, this guy effectively said, not effectively, he said that they have nothing like but the affidavit. Okay, so what we have seen is what they have. What is being discussed publicly, you are this whole like non-expert problem with like, well, you don't know. It's like what you read, his messages that don't have any dates on it, Tyler Robinson writing out everything and the clean alibi. That's what they have. And what he explained to me was that that's the affidavit stage. That's where it's at. And then what takes place now is the investigation is ongoing, right? So right now they're looking for more information. And once investigators, they could very well have obviously footage, and that is why they might feel that, oh, we're definitely gonna get this prosecution. But the reality is they don't actually share that information with the victim. They don't share that information with Erika. They don't, in this part of the process, they will not know what investigators have discovered. This is what the lawyer told me until May.
Yeah.
Okay. They will not. They have not seen anything that you have not seen.
The lawyer is not the prosecutor. And the prosecutor deemed it.
With that in mind, I'm sitting here going, why are you signaling? Why do I feel like the public's being gaslit on this? There's been nothing that's convincing. There are so many commentators who have gone out and said to you, it's overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming. The text messages that don't have a date, that don't even sound real.
They're not text messages.
That's overwhelming. That to me feels
text messages.
really fake and gay. I really do want to say that to every commentator that is out there trying to tell the public and insisting that if you say it enough times to become real,
that don't have a
you're
timestamp,
actually just being dishonest.
Text messages with her and Charlie
I offered that a more honest way to communicate would be to say, we think he's involved. We feel strongly. I've said that. I think he's involved. We are very hopeful that throughout this investigation, we are going to get that concrete thing. And that's where we're at right now. That's just the stage that we are at. That is not what we are getting from them. That is like, I just feel like that's really important to let you guys know. Let the gaslighting stop. They have what you have, okay? There is nothing else. They are in an investigative stage. Erika has been named as the victim. They will know more in this May hearing, which is the probable cause hearing. That's what the lawyer told me. It's a probable cause hearing. And that's when they will see the evidence. That's when they get to present the evidence, why they are going to stand there before a judge and be like, yes, we need to move this forward. It's not just an affidavit. We're not pulling together scraps. We have concrete evidence. Until then, okay, until we all get on the same page and understand what else they have, I am very confident stating the opposite of all of my, I guess, well-paid peers, in that I don't believe that Tyler Robinson pulled the trigger. And what I also said to them was, and I said this in front of the lawyer, because I don't know why I'm like this.
He
I was
literally
like,
just
you might
told
need a
you
new
that
lawyer.
you're not going to see
I was
any
like,
evidence till
because this
May.
person's
No
trying
one
to
is.
sell it to you that this is solid. One of the rules that me and my husband have is that if you have a lawyer that tells you like you're 100% going to win, it's very clear that you're going to win, you need a new lawyer. Okay, that's a cheerleader. That's not a lawyer. A lawyer, even if you should 100% win, should be telling you the risks here. You know, I feel good about this case. Like, let me talk real to you. I feel good about this case, but here's where things could go wrong. I want you to understand those risks that are involved. We don't have this yet. We don't have that yet. And especially given what I told them, which is your lawyers, or the investigators rather, not their lawyers, because they're not the ones investigating. It's the state of Utah that's investigating. They have not called the one.
Wait. Did she just admit that it's the state of Utah that's investigating and not the FBI, which she's been yelling at for the entire time? So she was wrong again?
Solitary person, as I told you guys, who filmed as he was on the roof. Remember the guy that's like, oh, there's somebody on the roof, and he sees him crouched down. I said, I spoke to that person, and his testimony would be devastating to your prosecution. He saw the person on the roof. He filmed the person on the roof at 12:23 p.m. and he did not see that person take the shot. And this is not some random student. This is a guy who trains people to shoot guns at a range. He knows guns, okay? He said what he saw was a smaller gun. He said that this person was dressed in black tactical gear and there was no recoil. That's devastating. That would be devastating to the prosecution. And yet, investigators haven't reached out. Now, they offered back, well, maybe they haven't reached out because they have an even clearer video. And that's true. That's actually a good rebuttal. They're like, we don't even have to talk to this guy because the video will speak for itself, and we saw what we saw. Okay, but wouldn't you still want to speak to the other guy so you could prepare? I don't know, to question him something. I don't like that this investigation is going on, and I feel as though I spoke to more people than they have. Both of the people who filmed videos that day told me that they weren't reached out to. So I don't understand what's happening here. I don't understand the confidence, I guess, is the best way to say this. I told them I do not understand the confidence that is happening. Now, another really big thing that happened was they brought me Mikey's call logs, okay? They brought me Mikey's call logs, and that is why I said this was a productive meeting. There is no other way to say it. I asked every question, and they came with paperwork to show and to answer and to explain certain things. Also, which was, I thought, actually kind of sweet, that I guess I did on the previous show. I was like kind of looking at things into Mikey, and I couldn't find him. And someone said, I think Mikey's not his like real name. Like they thought it was his middle name, actually. And I just assumed, okay, well, maybe he's using his middle name and that's why I can't find him. But Mikey really wants you guys to know that is his real name. And it is his real name. I found out shortly thereafter that they were confusing his middle name with, they thought it was switched. That Michael is his real name, just to clarify that, because I realized I actually didn't go back and clarify that. But Mikey's call logs, big piece of this, okay? I'm going to, I guess, jog your memory on what Blake said about Mikey that day, and then I'll tell you what actually happened, because I don't think Blake has that great of a memory. Okay, take a listen.
So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left. And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realized there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey. And I see Mikey there. And truthfully, I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly guy. He's a very happy guy almost all of the time. And I'll never forget what I saw, because it was clear in the moment that he was profoundly freaked out. What I'll always remember is the way his lip was quivering, which I'd never seen before. And you very rarely see from someone that he was freaking out. And then I think he literally said to me, I might be imagining this, but I think what he literally said was, And then he was looking around, and then he says, I need to call Erika. And then he takes his phone and he begins calling Erika. And I don't want to disclose how that call unfolded, but he did that. Your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute of all of this occurring. I remember he calls Erika. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. Pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around the time I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy, and he says, Dad, someone shot Charlie. You need to call all of your pastor friends. Charlie was hit. We need everyone to pray right now. And that's what he told him.
Okay, so that's just not right. And so when he says, I might be imagining this, I'll never forget, followed by, I might be imagining this, probably means that maybe you forgot and like you really could be imagining. Now, for me personally, I think the normal physiological response in these high adrenaline situations for most people is you lock in. They're literally your body, when it goes through something, when it's terrified and it's going through like sort of like you are really paying attention to details. We've learned about this many times over in health class growing up. This is why they talk about that fight or flight response, and quite literally there's stuff happening to your body. And so there's a lot of details here that are just not accurate. And the one that surprised me the most about these call logs is I certainly feel that we were given the impression over and over and over again that the first person Mikey called was Erika, right? He called Erika. We were told this by many people also that he trained, like he almost like went to a camp and trained, and Charlie was like, 1, 2, 3, go, and like fast, 1, 2, 3, go. That's why he walked away. 1, 2, 3, go, and just told him, this is what the first thing you do is. Well, he didn't do that. Actually, the first person he called was his wife. He called Elizabeth McCoy, and then he stayed on the phone with his wife for 10 minutes. And during those 10 minutes, he three-wayed Erika 3 minutes after the shot went off. And then he three-ways his father, and then he three-ways a third person who I am not interested in mentioning because it's not relevant. This is Danny McCoy, by the way, is his brother that's in the military, but that's before the shot goes off. Charlie Kirk shot goes off. I have that in detail. Charlie's brought to security. Mikey McCoy calls his wife. They will stay on the phone for 10 minutes. Okay. In that same minute, because we know this, because Blake Neff has given us his call log to his mother. Blake Neff called his mom. His call with his mother lasted 45 seconds. So we're assuming it went to 12:25. It very well could have stayed in 12:24, depending on the millisecond. Blake Neff ends that phone call with his mother. Mikey McCoy, after the phone call with his mother ends, adds Erika to the phone. Okay, so that when he was recapping and he's like, oh, his lips quivering and he's like, I got to call Erika. And he's like, and then I called my mom. That's not right. That's just not right. Okay, Mikey called Erika after Blake Neff ended that phone call with his mother. If call logs are to be believed above, human testimony. Mikey McCoy then drops Erika from the phone call 2 minutes later, and then he adds his father to the phone call. Again, he is this entire time on the phone with his wife, okay? And then Mikey McCoy ends his phone call with his father. He does call another person who I'm not mentioning because it's just not relevant
really
to anything.
To split hairs.
Not a character in the story,
I
rather.
gotta
And
call
then
Erika
he ends the phone call with
just because he
his
called someone
wife.
before that?
And a minute
Like,
later, his brother calls him back, and they stay on the phone for 10 minutes.
Oh, this woman
I
is
did not get
insufferable.
this from everybody speaking
Like
about
listening
this
to nails on a
Mikey McCoy
chalkboard.
call log. I know that you guys did not get this. I did not get this. I don't know why she was disappeared from this. Like, you could go, like, the wife wants privacy. No, she was like, main stage at the memorial, has been, I would say very involved.
Maybe they felt like there was no reason to mention it because it was kind of like,
I think it's very close that she's close with Erika. They went on the vacation together. So I don't get this disappearing act. I found that to be like, okay, but they were forthcoming with it. That feels good. That feels good, guys.
maybe
Like,
they just
wow,
felt like it was
we don't have
pointless
to
to put that
guess.
in.
Now
Who
we have
cares?
solid answers. And like I said, when you
cares?
come out and give solid answers and you're not weird and calling people names and saying all this stuff, it allows people to go, okay, I feel a bit more like we can trust this process because we have communication. That's the reality. And so I wanted to update you with that. Also, Another thing that really, I think, surprised them and I think surprised me is getting back to this Hamptons retreat. The thing about the Hamptons retreat, and I communicated this with them, that makes me so uncomfortable is how many little lies were told. I think I've been clear about that. Like Seth Dillon definitively pressed Charlie at this event. Now, whether it was in a hypothetical, which it was in a hypothetical, but he got fired up in the hypothetical of Charlie discussing potentially tweeting something against Bibi Netanyahu, it did lead to this firecracker moment. Again, this is one of those things where I go, why am I always being hung out to dry for telling people the truth? Especially when I wasn't going, oh, well, Seth Dillon killed Charlie Kirk.
There we go. Now she's
this
going
happened.
back to Israel.
It factually happened. And yet everybody's kind of putting out these weird statements and they're not being honest in them. And I was saying to them, that made me feel really weird. And I would love to know more about this Bibi Netanyahu offer to fund Turning Point to the next level. At which point, Erika said she was not aware of that happening. It is obviously totally possible that that was kept in the business lane of Turning Point USA. But I'm certain, I said, I am absolutely certain that I did not get this from an obscure source, that Bibi offered to fund Turning Point to the next level. And it was part of my frustration with that sit down with Alex Clark, where Andrew said, oh, there was not $150 million that's made up. You know, I told them, Andrew Colvett was my source. Andrew Colvett told me verbatim that Bibi Netanyahu offered to take Turning Point to the next level and that Charlie turned that money down. So I said, there's a bit of a predicament when I'm being like lambasted by all of these voices and people that are attacking me and these paid campaigns. And when I say paid, yes, okay, actually have the names of people. Different ways they're being paid. Some are being paid by PR firms. Too many are being paid by Prager University, which is upsetting to me because I know Marissa and it's just dirty. But it's especially crazy when people are calling it a conspiracy when I share things that are told to me from the spokesperson of Turning Point USA. Okay, that's weird. And yes, they were forthcoming. Nobody's ever denied this. So this was not on our list of lies about the fact that Bibi Netanyahu did call him. Okay, that did happen. Bibi shared that, by the way. Our source for that could have just as well been Bibi Netanyahu. And not a lot of clarity on, I don't know, why some people think he didn't make this offer and why definitively 3 different sources who would have knowledge of this confirmed to me that Bibi Netanyahu did indeed make this offer. I never said $150 million ever, not once on the show.
Kirk's death again?
I wouldn't have even said that, by the way. If you said
just
take
wanna
Turning
bitch
Point to
about
the
Israel?
next level, I actually would have assumed it was more,
Okay.
if I'm being honest. That's a hefty offer and it leads to a lot of questions. So there was not a lot of clarity there. Lastly, I want to add, of course, I was locked in this meeting when people on live were another round of debunking the Egyptian planes. I want to be very clear. We discussed the Egyptian planes, and I have since worked on an incredible document about the Egyptian planes, which we are going to put up on our website because I realized that when we shared that spreadsheet, people assumed that one of the columns, which was actually saying where the planes landed on that day, because it was plus or minus 3 days, was exactly where Erika had been on that day, and that was inaccurate. And so for clarity, I had been working on the last week on turning it into an interactive timeline that we can put up on our website, because I'm certain that these Egyptian planes are incredibly shady and that they were, in fact, tracking Turning Point USA faith, broader events. Of course, Erika was at some of them, Charlie was at some of them, but it is the pattern here is undeniable.
Oh
so
my
let the
God.
naysayers and people make videos trying to, 5th round debunk these planes. I also want to say to you that I feel very confident that I know why these planes have caused such panic. And it is because there is overwhelming evidence that these planes regularly fly in and out of Israel. And I'm going to present that evidence tomorrow. I say that strongly. This is I feel very confident saying these Egyptian planes are flying in and out. And notice I'm saying planes because once I was able to connect people that were on those planes onto other Egyptian planes, I was able to realize that these planes are flying in and out of Israel and turning their transponder off each time that they do it. That is now makes perfect sense of why there was this mass panic, right? It's not exactly like we have a strong Egyptian lobby in the United States. Not like we're like, whoa, well, those darn Egyptians again are trying to get TikTok censored. I mean, every person in the game, Barry, acting. Well, these are the usual suspects that act if something is a threat to Israel, okay? Which is, they should have just been forthcoming, pretended that it was changing apart. Instead, they're trying to gaslight us, and they're actually, frankly, just pissing me off. So I became locked in on these Egyptian planes because that's how I am, okay? You keep pushing me and keep pushing me, I will become an expert on these planes. I'll learn how to build an Egyptian plane. And the reality is, like I said, tomorrow I will show you how these planes tie back to Israel. And there's no disproving this. So more on that later. We'll be right back after throwing into some of our sponsors.
Went out.
Okay, so a couple of things I want to say. First and foremost, I just got a live update that I thought it was Danny McCoy on the call log. I should totally correct that, and I will correct that, and we'll be sure to trim it in post here. But it is not Danny McCoy. It is Danny, another one of Charlie's assistants. So I will correct that. Please correct that if you're going to make videos. Not Danny McCoy that called him and then called him after. That is another assistant of Charlie's. So we want to be accurate. I don't know why I assumed it was Danny McCoy in my head. I may have done that. Okay, another thing. You guys may have been noticing that we are getting into this weird space where they seem to be almost writing like Candace Owens fan fiction. I can't even reply to things, and a lot of you sense that this was because we were getting close. I agree. I fully agree that these attacks, which have grown hysterical, like I can't even begin to tell you the conversations between me and my PR person. I'm like, there's nothing to respond to. I mean, there's not even one sentence of this that is true. Case in point, by the way, New York Post does this article today. We were actually laughing, okay? Like, inside Candace Owens's sadistic and dangerous world, monetizing baseless conspiracies.
There was no
after,
comma.
By the way,
it was
they changed
dangerous
my
world monetizing.
husband's Wikipedia and said that he was a Qatari.
Why
if
are
he
you
had a
adding
Qatari
a comma
passport
when there's
or
no
citizenship.
comma?
I don't think my husband's ever even flown over Qatar. I could be wrong, but I don't think I know he's never been to Qatar. I don't think he's ever flown over Qatar. And they're just making it up, and then they make it trend no matter what it is. And I'm like, this is happening. It's like a psychological operation because they're trying to keep us constantly responding as opposed to focusing on our investigation, which is why I spent this weekend and I just kept down on the Egyptian planes because it's completely crazy. And when you see a media storm like this, it can only be happening because Zionists are locking arms and going attack because they by and large control the media. They just do. Okay, one way or the other, Zionists control the empire medias, and they are scared about something in this investigation. We've noticed that from the very beginning. So they wrote in this article, the New York Post, just to give you an example of how insane this is. They said they had an inside source that told them that while I was at the Daily Wire, I just fought with people from the very source that in my first week, I threw my car keys at a producer and expected them to park my car. That sentence
I could see that.
Genuinely made me laugh so hard because I never once in the entire time that I worked for the Daily Wire did I ever drive my car to work. Okay, I just didn't. They had a driver that took me there. So I don't know why I would suddenly take the driver's keys and then throw it at somebody. But quite literally, I never drove to the Daily Wire.
You probably had your keys on you still because you still had to get into your fucking house.
They say that to a producer and that I conducted, demanded others do my research. Could not be further from the truth. I have always done my own shows. I can't.
Yeah,
I
notice
can't
when
read
you started
a script.
doing your own show, the research
I riff
really lagged.
my shows. I think that's pretty obvious. That I demanded a huge studio, attempted to use their PR firm.
Bitch, you lived
to
6
get
months
the
rent free in a
cover of
luxury
People
apartment.
Magazine, like full
And
fan
then tried to
fiction.
say
There's
it
not
was
even
mold.
a shred. I don't even think we ever had a conversation about People
Oh, God.
Magazine because that would
Jeez,
not
so
be
full of
a
shit.
normal outlet for any conservatives. That I wanted to be on the cover of People is insane. And they said that their sources also said that, like, my team hated me. My team came with me when I got fired. My whole team's here. So I was just going, okay, what is happening here? Why are we talking about Qatar? Why are they making these things up? And I have come to the same conclusion as you. It is because we are
otherwise they would have been out of the
dangerously close to
job.
something. I think we have to keep pushing on the Huachuca Air Base, which we are doing. And
Which,
tomorrow
don't you
we are
have
going
some
to
new
get back into the
producer or some
investigation.
shit?
We're just going to ignore the noise
A year and a
because,
half old.
as
I mean,
I've said and
so that
as I
doesn't
have
sound like
maintained,
your producer came with.
I believe that Charlie was betrayed by people that are close to him. And I asked that question in the meeting. I'm like, okay, if we can agree that everyone around, I was like, I know there are people at Turning Point, they're not good people, right? And it's feasible that people, if they have addictions, that they, you can definitively get yourself in a scenario where you are willing to sell somebody out. This is a massive
Oh my
organization.
God, is she now
How
trying to
can we
say
so
that someone
confidently
has an
state that
addiction?
nobody had anything to do with anything here? And I think that one of the things that Erika was like, well, I'm not like a feminist, and I didn't want the vibe of that, which I think it did come across like a bit of a feminist, to say like, this is all my family. I'm like, how could this all be your family? I know people in this family and they're not good people. I wouldn't even do that with my own family. Okay. I got people in my family, like we all do, who aren't exactly walking a straight arrow in life. And yeah, so I've communicated that. I have not changed my position on that. I am not going to stop researching.
It's called an ethics contract. If you violate said ethics, you can actually get fired. In fact, they had that ethics contract for the high school I went to, for their teachers and for the students. In fact, one of the things on it was you weren't supposed to smoke cigarettes, and I was 18 and I was smoking cigarettes. And I had a loophole because they had me sign the ethics contract when I was 17 and didn't have me re-sign it when I was 18, that they, technically I wasn't liable, or technically I didn't violate the contract because I have to re-sign it when I turn 18. So, yeah. But no, it's called an ethics contract, dumbass.
The characters in this that I don't feel good about. But further to sort of them just creating and making things up, Tim Pool has now gone out and extraordinarily claimed that I have the same security as Charlie Kirk, and that I'm a fraud, and that actually I have the exact same security. You will recall that Tim just said a week ago that I have no security. Okay, this is Tim Pool a week ago.
She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you told me? She has no security. She doesn't deal with the we have to deal with. She's a piece of
She has security, just not on the level of you.
Oh, yeah, the one fat guy you mentioned with no wall and no barrier in a suburban neighborhood with neighbors. She doesn't give two No one's out for her. She's lying about all of this. You told me you went to her house, and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy, and she doesn't give a about her security.
So that was like Tim last Monday. This is Tim who said I had no security except for one fat guy, which I told you was not true. Now he's saying this. Take a listen.
Okay. I'll say things that I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to say, 'cause I always get super heated on this. Candace Owens has the same security team as Turning Point and Charlie Kirk did. She's lying. She has the same security people. I've been digging into this. I've been meeting with people and talking with them. And I shouldn't say too much because there's more that's going to be coming out soon. Because rest assured, people are filing legal paperwork against her. Candace has the same security team, or has used the same security companies and the same security personnel as Charlie and Erika did. So when she comes out and is questioning them, she is lying outright. Now, I've invited many of these people to come on. We'll see what happens. We'll see when they can. The issue is, the moment Candace goes on her show to millions of people and lies, litigation begins. And what happens when litigation begins? People don't do interviews about it. She is exploiting this, and she knows she is, to keep people wrapped up in this insanity.
Tim versus Tim, undefeated. And what I will also say is that's all a lie. It's almost like they have just sent a call, like they're getting too close, and just said, I don't care what you write. I don't care if it's complete fiction. Make it believable. Say her husband beats her. Say her, like it's coming after my husband. They're coming after me, and they're making stuff up. I have never employed the same security team as Charlie Kirk, ever. We went our separate ways early. Actually, there was it's obviously been publicized before he had Schaefer Security, and Schaefer Security, which was run by Greg Schaefer, who has issued a public statement. They had Dan Flood and Brian Harpool working for them initially. I told Charlie I did not like the security apparatus. I got my own security separate from Charlie from the very beginning. Okay, that's a fact. It just is a fact. There's no way to undo that fact. Trying to do this strategy of you're going to get sued is just threatening somebody. If there was any truth to that, you can't just file legal paperwork. You have to send a cease and desist. You have to say, something you said on your show was untrue. Can you please correct
like how
this?
Erika said,
okay?
stop
And if I ignore
3
that,
times?
as I did with Brigitte, because I told the truth, as I did with Kim Clasey, because I told the truth, then you have the grounds to file something. We have received no cease and desist from Charlie's security whatsoever. Over what? I mean, the audacity that you're filing a lawsuit and someone got murdered on your watch. Because I accurately said that the Brian Harpole, the message he showed belonged to Dan Flood. It did. And that they didn't do a walkthrough on that day. They didn't. Like, and if something I'm getting wrong and you'd like to show me that actually you did, send it over. We're only interested in getting to the truth, and we're not getting it. We're certainly not expecting to get it from Tim Pool. That is crazy. That's just crazy town. But I do think that is right now the Zionist strategy, and that's why I want to encourage you guys to stay focused. Huachuca, which we're going to have a lot on tomorrow, because there is something there, and I think that caused a panic, as well as the Egyptian planes, which I am telling you go back, relate to Israel, and I will be able to prove that tomorrow for all of the naysayers. And again, it's only because this is how they act. If they always overreact, and then it lets us know that we are close. They are like an alarm. They are just an alarm. Something else that I wanted to show you, by the way, I thought we were not supposed to be doing live streams while we were speaking, but Turning Point, I guess, has their daily show, but that I didn't feel like that was communicated to me. It felt like a ceasefire, and then it got violated. But they had an interesting conversation on their show yesterday, on the Charlie Kirk show, about this trial, the upcoming trial, about Tyler Robinson, and here is what they had to say. Take a listen.
So this is straight from the charging document. It says Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a, quote, stupid venue for the event.
Oh, they got that
Robinson
guy on.
accused Kirk of spreading hate. And when you see how easy that rooftop access is,
really good.
you start to kind of put one and one together, and you realize that Robinson had a plan that he was going to ultimately take advantage of. And he obviously knew how easy it was to get up to that rooftop, which is terrifying.
You can get up there with no arms.
It really is. And look, one of the other things that's being pushed around for a long time is that, you TPUSA, both the local chapter and you guys, didn't advertise this event till a couple days prior to. Now, the insinuation there is that doesn't give Tyler enough time to plan for this.
It was advertised
and what we found out with a little bit of, 20, not even 5 minutes of Googling and looking.
Yeah.
Look, you guys had already put out on your website as early as August 27th. So we have at least almost a full 2 weeks prior to this, that not only the time of the event, but the location, the exact location of the UVU courtyard. So when you have over 10 days of planning, and it sounds like that Tyler already was familiar with the campus to begin with, like a lot of the mystery of this starts to go out the window, and it starts to really conform with what is exactly being proposed by the state of Utah and the FBI in the charging documents.
Yeah, and we can attest, Andrew Cipher, who's our head of field, Charlie sometimes throw the events out, 7-10 days in advance. If something opened up in his schedule, he would be able to do these outdoor events a pretty quick turn. And so those whole that whole theory kind of goes out the window.
So, unless I am mistaken, and I am not perfect, but I do feel like we worked really hard to see when this location was first revealed. The first time that we found that the courtyard was mentioned, because Charlie's speaking at events, your assumption would be they're inside, right? You have no idea where it is. So it's not like you can
He's always
see whether you
outside.
have a shot
He's always
to the
been
courtyard
outside.
Unless you know Charlie's speaking in the
It's like
courtyard. The
rarely
earliest
he's ever
that
outside,
we found
inside.
that was on September 2nd. The local media mentioned on KMYU that Charlie was speaking at UVU in the courtyard. Okay, that's the first time that we found this. If I am wrong, please tag me,
it's always
because what
outside.
he's referring to on August 27th that happened, which we have on our timeline as well, and this is why I love a timeline, is that TPUSA, UVU, and the local BYU chapter shared a graphic announcing that Charlie was coming to UVU, but there were absolutely no location details mentioned. So that actually does shred the idea that he could have practically gone and scaled rooftops before September 2nd. That's the first public mention, is September 2nd. So they announced the event on August 27th, as he says, no location details. And then on September 2nd, there are location details provided by local media for the first time. Prove me wrong. Okay? prove me wrong if I'm inaccurate, because I do think that we were thorough on that.
Watch
I will update my
all of
timeline.
Charlie's
If not,
debates.
it does then go
90% of them are
surely
outside in a
they must
courtyard.
have footage after September 2nd of him testing the rooftop in some capacity
She knows nothing
then
about
realize,
him.
oh, it's going to be an outdoor event. This is
She's
an
never watched
opportunity
his
for me to go
debates.
after him. We are waiting for
I've
that.
probably watched every
And
single
like
one
I
of them.
said,
I've only seen
I was told that they don't
2
have anything
inside.
that the public doesn't have. So it's not obvious to me. I don't think it's obvious to the public. Now, I do want to get to Viva Frey, who had this to say regarding drones. Oh, sorry. Around the regarding the text messages from Tyler Robinson.
A lot has been made about these text exchange that went back and forth between Robinson and his lover, his trans furry gay lover, whatever. And people say it doesn't sound right. Well, there is a video that I want everybody to check out by Turkey Tom. I believe you've watched it now, Viva, where this has been authenticated as somebody who was in the Discord chats with them and apparently spent time with them at this apartment. And he said 100% this is how they talked, which is a striking finding. We're going to go into that more probably tomorrow or the next day, depending on how today goes. But I mean, I get the skepticism on this. At first, it struck me too, but apparently this is how they talk, Viva.
That was not the most implausible thing to believe. Okay, so you have a text message. It does read, regardless of whether or not this is how they talk, people saying they were manufactured by or drafted by AI. To the extent that they're confirmed text messages, you can, come to whatever conclusions you want after that. But whether or not this is how they talk regularly, to the extent that those were authentic text messages, they show what they show, which is whether or not his lover was aware of what was going on. You're etching bullets, and it's maybe not for target practice of a sporting nature. But like when I say I don't believe the official narrative, and you have to go back to a number of things here. I put my sort of best theory as to what went down. I want to know who was on the Discord chat in advance, what they were discussing, and whether or not there might have been some other I say foreign, not foreign government, but outer influence there. Tyler Robinson is getting radicalized right about the same time as Thomas Crooks, right about the same time as the other guy, Ryan Ruth. He's being radicalized at a politically relevant period of time, right around the same time, oddly enough, as the alleged suspect in the January 6th pipe bomber. A time frame where political violence is potentially very useful for the upcoming election. So the time frame of the radicalization is very interesting. To see whether or not he was on anybody's radar beforehand, we don't yet know that, and why there would not be confirmation on that can lead to suspicion. You remember the old man, George Zinn, arrested for claiming to be the shooter the day of, and then gets busted for CP on his phone. Like, in my mind, if I'm making a plausible theory here, George Zinn was probably on some Discord chat with a bunch of young perverts, and he's an old pervert, and he's getting off doing whatever they do on those chats. He knows what's going down. He shows up there and thinks he's going to be some useful decoy or distraction for Tyler Robinson because they know what's going down. That's my theory. But, it is the absence of total disclosure, the total lack of faith that anybody has, not just in the FBI per se, but in any state law enforcement. Nobody has any faith in our institutions anymore. And it leads people to go from, healthy skepticism to just not believing it, to concocting the most outlandish conspiracy theories imaginable. But then those text messages, you can understand how they will cause people to come to those types of conclusions. And
okay, really quick, the reason why he wasn't on anyone's radar, like FBI-wise and stuff, is because the FBI isn't really tracking through Discord. In fact, in order to report a Discord channel, you have to be inside that channel, get the URL, and send it to Discord directly. They don't look into channels that are connected to certain people and certain names. They don't. I've tried, because we had a bunch of prank callers who were harassing me and my husband. So I ended up infiltrating their Discord and got it shut down. I mean, you want to call his work, don't fuck with me.
Allegedly, the rumors are Kash Patel, getting mad at Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Kent for trying to look into a potential terrorist angle to this, also does nothing to foment faith in the system.
Look, I think it's what he's saying there is perfectly valid, and we can all surmise about what we think happened that day. We can also ignore the fact that I broke the story that the nurses were told at Utah Valley which treated George Zinn, everyone's just ignoring the things that I broke. She has no evidence, but he told the nurses that he was paid to do that. So whatever, we can all theorize, which we're going to do in the absence of any concrete facts. But I will say it's good that Turning Point is at least giving that air, right? I feel before, I think that might even be the first time Andrew Colvett has expressed that he thought that those messages were weird initially. That's good. That's what people want. They want fresh air at Turning Point USA. They want different perspectives. They want to feel like you're willing to have a conversation, and that at least you're going to defend people when they're being called liars when they're telling the truth about something. That would feel more authentic, I think. And so I am, just to say this, very happy that we are on much better feet and that we have opened the lines of communication. I do genuinely think that Justin Strife did a great job reffing that conversation yesterday. And I also do want to shout out Megyn Kelly, because we were trying to make this happen in the background really since Blake Neff fumbled the first invite. And thank you. That's in large part because of you guys at home that were like, what the F was that? And I think that they got enough flack that they were like, okay, we got to fix this.
Was you're a bitch.
But I want to commend him for making that happen, for being the person that, kind of rolled up his sleeves and was like, okay, let's actually make a conversation happen and start answering some questions, which I think was done well. And Megyn Kelly, who was initially going to, when we were going to live stream the conversation before the Barry Weiss moment, Megyn Kelly offered to ref that conversation. I felt like she would have done a very good job. I do think that she has kept it very even. She has not been hysterical and it's demonic, it's evil, how dare Candace? And I appreciated that. She has said, I don't agree with Candace, but I also don't think that she's doing this because she's been possessed by a demon. I think she actually believes these things, and I do. And I have a right to believe those things. And I don't feel any differently about the people that I mentioned on the show that I think are shady at Turning Point USA. And with time, we'll see whether or not I was right. I think that's really what it comes down to. But all around, definitely a productive conversation. I know it's 4 hours, so more things will come to my mind as they become relevant. But I think that's a good pause for right now. You better keep asking questions because it's the only thing that keeps us free. That is a direct quotation from Charlie Kirk, and that's why we're doing it. It does keep us free, and we're all sensing the squeeze. It's like they just want our speech. They want to purchase rational thinking. We can't allow that to happen. Okay, from this episode, Curbster writes, I am praying that our girl is playing the ultimate long game while staying true to her convictions and true toward all of us who have backed her and Charlie from the beginning. I am praying that God keeps you strong, righteous, and faithful in every step that you take. May God save America and protect us all. I want to say this to you guys just plainly. If I was going to sell out, it would have happened in the last 2 years, okay?
You did sell out.
Those offers were made.
You sold
those
your
threats were
fucking
made.
soul.
I hope you have seen what I have gone through to keep myself, really. I was fighting to stay me, and it was hard. And that it made me really appreciate the fact that we do live in a matrix and every element is controlled. And that is why they are vicious right now with making up things about me and my family, because now that I chose freedom, they hate that I have freedom. They hate that there's no more threats to make, right? So they're just embarking on this fan fiction campaign. But especially for the people that I care about in life, right? Especially for people whose heads I have held up, who have held up my head through really hard times like Charlie did, that I would just sell out to like the highest bidder and go, oh, okay, well, you know what, BB offered me a lot of money, so I'm going to stop talking about this, and I'm no longer going to explore this angle, or I'm going to, to repeat to you guys, it was definitely Tyler Robinson. It's just not in my character. I have always been the kind of person that knows that it's not worth living life that way. My whole spirit would be corrupted. I couldn't do it. I struggle with people that can do it. I struggle seeing people who have so obviously sold their souls on the internet. It's very frustrating to watch it. Central 848 writes, Candace, please look into the possibility that Charlie was electrocuted and that the hole in his neck was made by the currents passing through his necklace and out of his throat. The images of his charred hands are conclusive and compelling. Please, for the love of God, look into this. I did watch that video that Baron Coleman put together. First and foremost, I want to say Baron Coleman has done some incredible work, and I actually told him that we should get together and collaborate because I had watched a video of his where he was building on Camp Huachuca, and he made me notice some things. So then we started researching some other elements, and that's what we're going to move on to tomorrow. I can tell you definitively that's a weird camera angle. They do look charred in the photos that he showed, but I can tell you that his hands were not charred when he was buried. And so what you thought that like people were like, oh, this was like makeup and stuff. It was a very compelling theory. It just wasn't so. And I very much trust the person that told me that. But that said,
any electrician
the Baron Coleman, if you have not seen the episode where he builds on what I said about Camp Huachuca, that is worth a watch. He kind of suggests in that episode, which I want to shut down, he suggests that, I think he heavily suggests that it could have been the Veep on that, on the base, Vance on the base. And I did then research because I was like, oh, wow, is he right? There's actually video of Vance. So it could not have been Vance on the base. Again, I'm getting ahead of ourselves here. We should talk about more of that tomorrow. But that is a very compelling video that he did, which was fantastic work. And I do want to collaborate with him. Maybe we'll do it this week or next week. Or is next week Christmas? I guess. I don't know.
Next
we'll
week
figure
is
it out.
Christmas, dumbass.
Jenna writes, your true fans had no doubts about you whatsoever. Merry Christmas to you. I was like, are you new here? Girl, I have been maimed, fired, caricatured. I'm watching right now. My family go through that right now because they are so desperate. And I just think we're close to an awakening and really understanding what real evil is. So we're going to keep pushing.
You're real
Zachary
evil.
Loft writes, longtime listener, first-time donor. Why wasn't the convo live? Why is Brandon Tatum the only creator that you follow on both IGs? That was 2 questions. Okay, the first thing, why wasn't the convo live? It was first intended to be live. They did say, obviously, you saw the offer Blake Neff made, which was not a true offer. But then what came behind that was Erika communicating with Megyn Kelly and me. Megyn Kelly was kind of the intermediary. We were trying to find someone that was fair, like I said earlier. And then obviously it sort of felt like it got a bit uglier the next week. And I sort of felt, and I think it was fair, that then she went on this press tour and it was kind of directed at me. So then they said, okay, well, by that I mean Justin Strife kind of said,
God,
the temperature's a little hot right now. What about we do like not an off-record conversation, but have a private conversation. And I actually will say, I wished it was live, but I will also say I am glad that some parts weren't, because I was then able to tell them some things that I have not yet said that I wanted to like fact check and get some answers on, but also to say something to them that
5 more
I found out that
Christmas.
I didn't say because I didn't want to hurt the company in a way, right? So some of this is very relevant to Charlie's research and what happened on 9/10, and some of it is not. So we got to, I guess, have a better, that portion of the conversation I think was better off camera. But I was
She's
always
gonna
open
say
and
she just
am
wants to have
still
more
open
episodes.
to live streaming with them whenever. Truly, like whenever. You guys know I'm an open book. So it wasn't my demand that it be private. I was happy to do a live stream. But I think Justin thought that it would be better if after, just so we could kind of bring the temperature down, which I think was very much accomplished. Temperature was definitely brought down. Zachary Loft wrote, longtime listener for, oh, sorry, I just read that. Mr. Bruce Lee writes, people in the chat, many other channels are not hearing what they want to hear. So it's automatically, well, Candace got paid. The chats are so botted. It's better to actually look at comments after the episode to see what people think. And we've had so many people talk about how
you have to wonder
there are so
if
many
her
bots
cousin
in the
brought
chat.
a straight
and
razor and
so
Vaseline.
Focus on obviously the words I am saying, and obviously you can
Candace
tell
is
that I have not
ghetto.
been paid, because I wouldn't be talking about Israel. And I think there's something to explore there. We'll get into that tomorrow. One Will Wallace writes, pretty clear to me that Kirk was murdered because of his voice and influence. Here's some support toward that security detail. Thank you very much. It's obvious that these people will stop at nothing to silence someone. Continue to stand 10 toes down for the truth, but please be careful. God bless you, Candace. Thank you. That is actually a tremendous donation. Thank you for guys who have been giving these donations, which have gotten bigger because you're concerned about security. And I think everybody after Charlie Kirk assassination is more concerned about security. It's a discussion that my husband and I are having more and more. And that's why it feels especially disgusting when someone like Tim Pool is trying to signal to people, attack her. Like he's basically trying to signal to people that her security is weak, or like he's using the same security as Charlie. All of these things, like he is trying to put into the air that he wants me to be attacked. That's how I'm taking this, because why is he making my security a theme on his show? I don't trust that at all, and I don't know what's guiding that. Rio Bays writes, how would Erika and the feds not see those messages? That makes zero sense to me. I think you're referring to the messages that Charlie got the night before. Yeah, we didn't discuss whether the feds had received those messages. I will say that. We did not discuss that. But we did discuss, she obviously said that she did not see those messages. So I'm going to read the rest of your comment. How would Erika and the feds not see those messages? That makes zero sense. Erika, Brian Harpole, and so many others caught in these lies. This is what you fished for. Why go soft? That doesn't make sense. Also heard that we're chilling with TPUSA members at Tucker's party. That's another more fan fiction. I have no idea what that was about. You're referring to a person who went and said that Candace was hanging out with TPUSA and Tucker and Marjorie Taylor Greene at Tucker's Christmas party. to my knowledge, I did not see any Turning Point USA employees. I did not have a conversation with any Turning Point USA employees. To my knowledge, that I did not see them. It was a massive party. I have never had beef with Tucker. That's why I was at his Christmas party. And I've never had beef with Marjorie Taylor Greene. So yeah, I spoke to them. That's what I mean. It's like the attacks are just every second of every day accusing me of something. And the implication there was like I was like sitting on the side laughing and enjoying a beer with Terrell Farnsworth and Tyler Boyer. I am sure, because Tucker obviously has a good relationship with them, that there were some Turning Point USA employees. I didn't speak to them. To my knowledge. I did not speak to them. So I actually responded and I said to the person, why don't you publish who you're talking about? You don't have to, like, everyone's like beating around the bush. Like, I can't say what I know about her security. Say it.
Candace,
because you're lying.
Done.
Okay? If you say you know something about how I'm actually secretly laughing with Turning Point USA, speak plainly. I have nothing to hide. I am not the person who's playing any games right now. So if you're going to call me out, go all the way. Okay? Go max on calling me out, because if I'm a fraud,
You're
the public
whore.
sure as hell deserves to know it.
You're a lying
and you're not going to
whore.
find me in a situation like that.
You've always done it.
Isabella Mazzone writes, can you elaborate more about Charlie and his journey to Catholicism? Did Erika confirm that? I am going through a journey with Catholicism as well, and I think that they should be honest about that. Look, obviously, Erika confirmed it. I was always telling the truth, and that was one of the first things I said. I was like, what was that weird Alex Clark thing? I was being attacked for no reason, and then I get these people doubling down on it, and I know that they know that it's true that Charlie was going to Mass. And I can't speak on whether he was close to converting. That's a conversation, like you said. Erika can speak on that, and there might be a time and a place for her to do that. I can only speak on the fact that I wasn't lying and that I was having those conversations with him, and he was attending Mass. And I do think, from what I've been told, that he was planning on signing up and starting that process, but I did not personally have that conversation with him. So that's third party. The right person to speak about that would be Erika, and I do think she should. I think she should, because nobody was nastier to me than the Judeo-Christians, the evangelical crowd, because I told the truth about conversations that I had with Charlie about Catholicism. And none of them corrected the record. None of them said I'm sorry. None of them said I didn't know what I was speaking about. They just kind of doubled and tripled down on attacking me, which is a repeat theme. I'm always being attacked for telling the truth, and I just keep telling the truth. So, yeah. What's the lie? Where is the lie? Where is the lie? Lastly, Lamp writes, how come Qatar is always used as the go-to punching bag by the media? Why does Qatar never even push back? And Qatar seems to never attack Israel in a war of aggression or any sort of attack. Have they ever even done anything negative toward Israel? Well, Qatar recently came out and said, yeah, we work with Hamas because Israel and the United States asked us to. They asked us to play the intermediary. And now we are being attacked for doing what they asked us to do, which sounds like the most absolute United States-Israel thing ever, is to ask people to help you and then to be like, oh, I'm so horrified by what they're doing. And I tend to believe that. I don't understand the weird Qatar thing. Like I said, I would take Qatari money. I would. They haven't called me. It's deeply upsetting. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong, what I'm getting wrong, what I can do better to make them call me. I would be totally one of those people that's in the commercials. Have you seen, like, Qatari Airlines is supposed to be amazing, apparently. And I'd be in a commercial for Qatari Airlines. I don't mind somebody making that an AI video and maybe sending that over to the Qatari embassy and seeing if they want to hire me. I am open to being paid by Qatar. So I don't get it. I don't know why Jared Kushner and Zionists are allowed to go to Qatar, which happened recently, and do deals with them. But for some reason, Candace and Tucker are not. It's just not fair.
I have a problem with
what do I have to do to be seen by
Qatar?
And I guess it's a question for another day. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. Hold up. Yeah, so you know how she said that Charlie was converting to Catholicism? How that's supposedly a thing.
I'm not going to recant because I don't have to. I'm not a Catholic.
Yeah, I know.
So, and I don't really care if you were offended, right? Because I'm not a Catholic. So,
yeah,
I love Catholics, and I actually defend Catholicism every day. And I, meet with fellow, priests in my area, and I love them. They actually agreed with me when they, I said the Marxist thing. You will know more about it than I will. I'm just going to point you to other Catholic thinkers that have made that accusation. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I get a hat?
Yes.
So just to recap.
I'm not going to recant because I don't have to. I'm not a Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a Catholic. So I'm getting really tired of her going, oh, I think he was Catholic. No. His own damn words.
I'm not going to recant because I don't have to. I'm not a Catholic.
Yeah.
Own damn words. So, no. Sorry. But, yeah, I'm actually going to be really interested to see what Tim Pool says tonight, especially for the fact that she showed 2 pictures of him with the hat off. Like, oh my God. You're really trying to be just, that's petty. That's petty. Like, Tim Pool's calling you out on some real shit, and you're just being petty. I mean, I'll admit it was funny, but that's just petty. So with that, I'm going to do my outro, and I will be out. And hopefully you guys have a good night.